Yo, it's your favorite N-word again. This time, I'm going to be talking about a Dreamland excerpt that happened this morning when I went to sleep. It was the first dream I had, and it kind of continued on throughout the rest of the day. But I don't know what to call it yet, so I'm just going to talk about it. Now, as you know, I'm a very lucid dreamer, and for the most part, out of I'm guessing 95% capacity, I have control over what happens in a dream. 100% control over what I do in dreams, whether I'm in first person or third person view. Now, in this dream, I want to say that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was one of my favorite shows, and I'm not really a fan of Marvel. I do like some of their ideas, but the way that they tell stories is all kinds of atrociousness, and I will never stand behind it. I'm always going to be thumbs down to Marvel, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because of who they had casted for the show, I will forever love the show. Because I pretty much like every single main character, pretty much like most of the people that they casted for the villains and whatnot. And to me, the aesthetic of beauty and handsomeness is important when I'm watching TV shows and whatnot. And I'm not one of those people that fall in line of all of the A-list celebrities, because, you know, they are really not that entertaining. So, moving right along, I had a dream about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. many years ago, and I went all up in there and brought Triplet back. And Triplet is one of the best characters of all time, and you can argue with me all you want to, but his loyal ways of being true to the game when it came to being with S.H.I.E.L.D. and being a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent was not ignored by me. And you can argue with me all you want to, but in the most part, the way that black characters are portrayed, they are loyal to where the money is or loyal to where the power is. Triplet never turned his back on his morals and whatnot, and he was quite hilarious. So Triplet was brought back in the day and whatnot. So the dream that I had this morning was in relation to that universe of Marvel that I infiltrated and put all kind of things in, and it gets very crazy. So after I left and I brought May with me to my universes, she ended up having a lovely life, and because of the situation that happened in Bahrain, she whatever essence that was in that Inhuman, it touched her. It didn't alter her because it wasn't enough, but even though she had to kill that little girl, that whole essence of that situation touched her, and just that little bit was enough for her to gain a shitload of life powers by the time she got to the Tri-Stone era. So May basically becomes a goddess, and she can resurrect, heal, and rendered immortal because of all of the power that she gained from the Tri-Stone era. Ended up having a lovely life and conceiving, got a family now. She's the matriarch, and it's all lovely and whatnot. And for some odd reason, my subconscious decided to develop some kind of story about me having a child. And no, it was not with me. I have a son, Terrance Jr., all of a sudden in Dreamland, and he decided he wanted to pick up on the storylines that I have in story number 16, The Greatest Story Ever Lived, where the 25-year-olds get these quests from their aunts and uncles, where they get trips to other universes throughout their lifetime and whatnot. And at the age of 25, my son finally decides he wants to start doing it, and he got these two best friends, Faye and Iris, and they are not goddesses. They're just regular super beings, and they go along with him wherever he goes, and he has rarely went to another universe since being born and whatnot. But all of a sudden he wants to go and see the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because of reading some of my memoirs and looking through some of my memory spirits, like Final Fantasy X. So my son wants to go all the way over there to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm like, well, before you go, I need for you to go down the checklist of your morals and make sure you don't go over there and do all kind of Thanos type shit. And my son ended up growing up as benevolent as me, and he doesn't go around hashing out his powers and God existence control and God reality control abilities all willy-nilly. And he is oddly almost exactly like me. And I'm like, wake up now, please wake the fuck up, because this is not supposed to be happening. So I was trying to wake up before he even all the way went to the Marvel Universe. And he went, took Faye and Iris with him like he always does. And he goes into the part of the timeline way after season 7. And at this time, the story that happened, Triplet was involved every time. So regardless of him dying in the actual show, and the version that I brought him back, Triplet is still alive. And disregarding the love situations that Daisy had, none of that happened because of Triplet, because Triplet and Daisy ended up falling in love with each other, ended up getting married, ended up having kids. They ended up having triplets, which was very odd. But at the same time, during the time that I was out, the times with different universes and how things move and the physics of them and time and all of that is very different. So my son decided to peep in at the time that the triplets are actually 3 years old. So this was way after Fitzsimmons and Fitzsimmons have their child, and their child is maybe 10 in that story. But it's quite lovely because because at the end of season 7 you can see that team is in outer space and they doing all kinds of shit in the Quinjet. And the time when my son went to that universe, they have 2 of those space vehicles, and they have the kids on one that's at least 500,000 miles behind them. And the kids are in outer space all the time with them, and they return to Earth whenever they return to Earth, or they go to space colonies or other planets with the parents and whatnot. And they are always close to the parents, but not in like danger way, to where they're like less than 500,000 miles when they're out in space traveling and whatnot. So the official team that's happening at the moment, and everybody that's still in S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson is gone. Mac is the director. Yo-Yo is still alive, and she's with Mac most of the time when she's not out in the field. In the new team field, well, not the new team field, but the specific team, and I can't remember their name right now. I might put it in a summary later on. But the team is Daisy, Triplet, Piper, Kora, end up being my son, Faye, and Iris, and somebody else. Who is the other person? I think it's just them. It's mostly a female team, and for some odd reason, everybody in S.H.I.E.L.D. has powers now. And they had this lovely, ridiculous bond of not being in a lot of danger but causing a lot of danger. And I think their team is called Team Renegade, I believe, because even though they work for S.H.I.E.L.D., they always out doing ridiculous stuff, and they have this leash that's like extremely long. And Mac is like, as long as humanity is saved and they don't know anything, they're fine. So all of the powers that are about, Daisy is still surviving with her vibration powers. Triplet has dark matter powers, and the combination of them And the whole story behind it deals with heaven and hell trying to reclaim Triplet because he actually died and was brought back to life. And Marvel believes in that dumbass balance kind of storyline telling shit. Afterlife wants Triplet back, but something dinged in their timeline, and Terrance had to go back and refuse that shit happening again. So Triplet ended up with these massive, overpowered, like God mode dark matter energy powers, and he can pretty much summon anything from outer space and move through outer space at will. And that's essentially calling him a child of the universe, because of him being able to move as fast as supernovas and go any way he wants to. So he would be categorized as a level 5 super being, and Omega. And him and Daisy, they had triplets, and their triplets are under the laws of the Tri-Stone era, so their powers have not activated yet, so they don't have to deal with it, even though they are constantly monitored. And that's good for them because the team that's in the Quinjet behind them takes care of the kids, and they do it happily. Then there's Piper, who ended up getting a gift from me a long time ago, and she opened it, if I can talk right, sometime after season 7 ended. And she ended up with these energy manipulation powers, and this allows her flight. First of all, this allows her to form energy in the form of projectiles of waves, flames, balls, squares, even any kind of polygonal shape, rays, and beams. She can absorb energy and convert it to a life force as well. So in kind of a short explanation, she is Magneto without the magnet abilities. And then Kora, her and her son energies are still the same, still Omega level, just like Daisy, her sister. And Piper and Kora are an item, girlfriends to the maximum power, and they be having a good time. And then, oh crap, what powers do Faye and Iris have? They have some devastatingly dangerous powers, but they are on the team as well. So it's like I think it's a 7-person team. Blackhelm is the code name for my son. He looks exactly like me with red eyes, lavender hair and whatnot. 6'3" with that whatever build he has, but his superpowers are very kind of different from mine, because he chose imagination as his power. Categories are ice, weather, quasar, and life. So he swapped out 2 different instances where he manages weather and quasar powers more, because I personally don't want to deal with lightning or electricity. The shocking effects isn't kind of a superpower category that I would have, but my son chose weather in a whole because of the whole catastrophe of it all. So dealing with that, let me see. That's how powerful he is. And then you have Faye with her shadow powers, and she can do a lot of dark energy things that kind of goes hand in hand with Triplet's powers. Then you have Iris, who has explosion powers. They are with so it's Blackhelm, Faye, Iris, Daisy, Triplet, Piper, and Kora, all in outer space, handling what they handle, doing all kinds of stuff and making sure nothing comes back to the Milky Way galaxy and fucks with the humans. So they doing, I guess, patrol around the entire planet, entire solar system of the Milky Way. They pretty much have it made. They do all this crazy stuff with no drawbacks, and they live healthily, as well as causing all kinds of destruction. So the dream picks up. I'm guessing like 5 years after he got there. No, not 5 years, cause the triplets are still 3 years old. So I'm thinking it's a year, because it can't be 5 years. It's a year after they get there, and they in outer space with them, and it's a whole new team and all of this stuff. They are doing their patrols around the Milky Way galaxy and having a good time doing it. Escaping danger, escaping dying in outer space, all this kind of stuff, and raising their kids healthily in a spaceship that's pretty much the size of at least 4 academies. So it's actually a spaceship or a space colony that travels, that follows the Quinjet that Team Renegades are on. They are living a good time and whatnot, and then some shit start happening on planet Earth, and nobody can figure out what's happening, because these riots happen, and they are very quick. Whatever's causing them is making everybody kill each other, and it's happening in small towns and cities and things like that. It's not happening in big cities yet, but they are causing these people to fight each other, like how that movie was Kingsman, the first one. Second one I never watched, but the first one, how they had those chips in people's heads, and they would make them fight when they send a signal to their cell phones, and everybody would fight to death, and there will only be one survivor. It was kind of that situation, but even a survivor would kill themselves. And the person that was causing this, his name is Reikeej. This sentient being from many distant galaxies over, that's tired of humans being the pollution to the universe. And he came to stop that, came directly to planet Earth, eventually made it to stop it. And what he needs is enough power to make his spell happen, because he's a sorcerer. And his categories are fire, sound, curse, and nothing. And you can think about nothing all you want to, but it's literally nothing. So if he casts a spell that will make nothing out of something, it's simple obliteration without the explosion. So good luck. And they needed it. I was just watching. It was like a movie to me. So when the people started killing themselves, it was because of his hypnotism. And everybody that was killing themselves were in an area where they were protecting power. So he was trying to get the powerful devices, batteries, what have you, to ensure that his spell obliterates the human species. So what he was trying to do is, he plans on imprisoning the planet in an essence called species air, where a black wavy substance will be summoned and created into a circular structure around planet Earth to wipe out every humanoid on the planet. This will be unearthed through tragic events, as the people who succumb to his hypnotism spark riots that end with everyone's deaths in huge cities, just to get the power items that will supply the imbuing of the entire planet. Now, when he gets to the large cities, that's when Mac and Yo-Yo get a notification from Captain America and the other kind of heroes around the planet, and they try to figure out what's happening. But the very odd thing about this is there are usually 25 headless people, and like there's no way of finding it, because even on video you'll see that the people are fighting and the survivors will literally have no head. And after they kill that last person, it's almost a split millisecond or second and that person's head is gone. Whatever Reikeej is doing is powerful and nasty. So it's usually about 25 people that succumb to being headless, and they can't figure it out because they can't get any psychics to read dead minds or anybody to resurrect ghosts and try to look into different kind of dimensions around the planet and stuff and try to figure out what's happening. And eventually they figure out what's happening because Team Renegades has brought back to planet Earth. So when they figure out that the huge power cells and powers are disappearing from closed sites and areas where they need to stay and they can't move, Mac and Yo-Yo Fitzsimmons, other agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. figure out that that somebody or a group is targeting massive amounts of power, and they start sending teams to places to gather them or secure them or watch them. So Team Renegades get to some kind of city, high metropolitan city, where they think is going to happen next. So all 7 of them are on the ground, acting like regular people in regular clothes, except for Blackhelm, who has to change his appearance to fit in because, Red Eyes and Lavender Hair would clearly label him as somebody that's not human. So he out there looking like regular me, and everybody else is looking regular as well. But because Piper's powers didn't change how she looked, Triplet's powers didn't change how he looked, and Faye and Iris looked like incredible supermodels that would work for Victoria's Secret Fashion Week or whatever that is. And they are all everybody is looking beautiful all around the city and random spots. Blackhelm is with Faye and Iris per usual. Daisy and Triplet are somewhere together, and Piper and Kora are somewhere together. So the 3 of them had this triangle around the city and waiting for something to pop off, and they've been there for days. And then when the riots start and people start killing each other, before it starts, they hear the whispers as well. And it's Reikeej. He's in the area making people act up so that he can sneak in and get the power and get out. So the riot starts in the direct center of the triangle that they make. So everybody starts making a beeline to the center where the beacon is coming from, where the riot started. And this is a big city, so they're trying to limit as much casualties as possible. So every S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that's also there with Team Renegades pull out their ices and start icing people and stuff like that. And then everybody sees this Asian dude, and he's not falling from the freezer ammunition, right? And they done shot him twice in the neck and everything, and he just standing up with a mic in his hand in this bomb ass outfit. His outfit was fucking killer. And I chalked that up to the post that Bree Runway posted this morning before I went to sleep. That she was on a stage with blue behind her, and she had a mic in her hand and everything, and the outfit was off the chain. It was all black. And Reikeej was in something like that too, with a mic in his hand. And I'm like, ugh. Dreamland, thanks. I love this kind of entertainment. So they get into dialogue, and Reikeej is telling them that he's just trying to cleanse the universe. And they're like, how are you trying to cleanse the universe? He tells them that humans need to die. Flat out. There's no long storyline of them trying to figure out what's going on. Reikeej is like, y'all cannot stop me, and I'm trying to cure the universe. So Terrance Jr. has to pull his guide cord, and the next thing they know, they start fighting. The fight is so powerful. The initial contact of Blackhelm and Reikeej decimates the building that they are in, and Faye and Iris, they do something to Triplet to make them teleport every agent S.H.I.E.L.D. and every Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and every person in that building out of it, because that shockwave leveled the entire building, and it was like 5 floors and whatnot. So Blackhelm and Reikeej are fighting like Rogue and Juggernaut will fight, and they just going ham on each other. So and it's beautiful. Their fight scene was so beautiful. I was like, they were literally punching each other as hard as possible, and with Blackhelm being a god and Reikeej basically being a god, they just doing Dragon Ball Z type fighting, and they just going extremely hard at each other's necks. And Reikeej has to disappear because his hypnotism isn't working on the team or any S.H.I.E.L.D. agent whatsoever, because of what Blackhelm is doing to make sure that people don't die around them. So the fight scene ends with Reikeej simply telling Blackhelm that he doesn't have time for this. He has to enact a spell as soon as possible. So he disappears. As he disappears while he sends out this invisible slash that cuts open Blackhelm, and they're like, you gonna be alright because your intestines about to fall out. And Blackhelm just heals himself and be like, he don't know what's going on, but he got to be from somewhere. And with as much technology as humans have, they start pulling surveillance from satellites to figure out where the hell Reikeej came from. So while they trying to figure out what kind of being he is, they doing all kind of surveillance, and Fitzsimmons are brought in to build some kind of device so they can look at him and see past what he looks like in human form. And he ends up looking like a different version of Abe from Abe's Odyssey, like a handsome version of him, but he has that dragon scale, pale blue skin. His hair is as long as it was in human form, and his hair is a vivacious shade of sky blue, and it sparkles. His eyes are pretty normal, but the inside of his mouth is like, let me see, it was fucking horrible when they pulled it up. I was like, oh shit, I ain't waking up anytime soon. So his mouth he had 3 rows of teeth, 2 on the upper row, 1 on the bottom. The front row of teeth on the upper row were sharp, and the others, the one behind it in the bottom row, they were square shaped, and they would fit together to keep him from biting down into his gums and whatnot. But his teeth were all black, and the rest of his insides were red. But he has like this, like 3 rows of arms in his true form. So when they finally saw his true form, they were like, oh, we ain't never seen this shit before. So everybody was nervous except for Blackhelm, Faye, and Iris. But this was a very credible threat that all of them can fight against except for Blackhelm. And they were trying to figure out what he was on a planet, but he wasn't even on planet Earth anymore. He decided to go to Mars for some odd reason while he was figuring out what the next powerful item was. And nobody knew to look on Mars, so he was hiding out for a while he was devising a plan for his next move. And the dream goes along the story of trying to figure out what the hell is Reikeej, and Blackhelm is doing whatever he can do to figure out what kind of power he needs to defeat this sentient being so he doesn't kill every human on the planet. And they figure out that the power that he's taking is going to be used for the enveloping of black energy around planet Earth to specifically kill out the human species, every single one of them within the confines of the black orb around the planet. So when they figure out the schematics of how much power he's going to use to make this happen, and the words that he said from Blackhelm's body cam, they have to figure out what he is. And Triplet, with his powers and him having a conversation with Blackhelm later on, they talk about how he has to do something with bringing or summoning some kind of artifact from outer space that will give them enough energy to at least decapitate him, cut him in half, sever him, delete all of his life force, because he would not stop. And him and Blackhelm were pretty much evenly matched, but if he can cut him open at the end like that before disappearing, he's a little bit more dangerous than Blackhelm, so they don't want to allow him to make any more moves, so they have to do what they got to do. And Triplet is trying to figure out what the hell was his voice and what was he doing with his categories and sorcery, because you know, if you have sound, curse, and nothing as basis, and you start whispering in people's ears in a language that they never heard of, they go do what you tell them to do. And they want to prevent him from encapsulating the entire planet in that hypnotism spell. So Triplet decides to summon the entirety of the Infinity Stone gauntlet, the whole suit that Thane was wearing in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And you know, they are agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They are in the know of it. So everybody is like, you know what, let's not do this. And it becomes quite hilarious as everybody keeps saying that we don't need to do this, and something has to change because they don't know how Triplet is going to react once he put on a whole suit. And they're like, he could just put on the glove, and he puts on a glove with all of the Infinity Stones, and that's not enough power to go against Reikeej, right? And they are measuring it, and no matter what he does, it's not enough power, and they keep on putting on different pieces of the suit to power up the glove with the Infinity Stones in it, and it's still not evening out to either Blackhelm or Reikeej. So everybody's just wondering, is Triplet going to be able to hold on to it when he puts on a whole suit of armor when Reikeej comes back? And long story short, that fight where Blackhelm and Triplet has to team up on Reikeej ends up with Reikeej losing, of course, because you know, good guys prevail. And it was a very beautiful dream. I'm not gonna lie, I was very entertained the whole way through. It was my kind of writing. I did everything myself, subconsciously, of course, because they had to come up when I went to sleep. And it was beautiful. Everybody did their thing in that fight, because the entire suit of armor with the Infinity Stones allowed for Triplet to give everybody power to help out in the fight. So when Reikeej started enveloping the planet in that black energy, you could see it around the planet from outer space, and it wasn't entirely black. It wasn't cosmic black either. So it was a different kind of black that would make it stand out if you was looking at it from outer space, and you would be like, "Oh snap!" Just like Raven-Symoné, wondering how in the world somebody is doing this and what color is this shit. So when it started waving over the planet from the South Pole trying to go to the North, that's when everybody had to kick it in high gear and try to, they told Triplet to put it on and fight as best as you can. Triplet gave everybody power. It was beautiful. Piper's hair turned blue. Her eyes turned blue. It was like that cerulean blue. It was beautiful. And she just got enveloped with all this energy and basically became the Firefly, like from Final Fantasy X, with all the energy around. And her vessel became white, and she started haymaking Reikeej with everybody else. And Quake became Goliath with her powers. Kora became Goliath with her powers. Iris and Faye became Goliath with their powers, and Blackhelm was just doing as much combat as possible to keep Reikeej from speaking the spell that he was trying to speak at the time when he was trying to kill everybody on the planet. And that was the whole dream. So now I'm going to disappear and finish my route for the night. Holla at y'all later. Mwah.